stop what you're doing right now and take a nap. Or watch this video first and then take a nap. Or take a nap and come back to the video. Whatever. Doesn't matter what order you do that in. Well, hey there, my winter witches, my hibernating heathens, and other denizens of YouTube. It's me, your boy Shane, and welcome back to the channel, as the case may be. Kicking off 2023 by making a video. Oh my goodness. A bit ironic, because what I want to talk about today is the idea of rest as a spiritual concept and a spiritual need. What I want to talk about today is sacred inactivity. So there's a practice in a lot of Wiccan and pagan traditions of kind of taking the period of time between Samhain and Yule as sort of like a fallow period, rather than starting anything big or ambitious, a new project, or even a lot of groups don't even do like initiations or elevations during that time. It's more of a time to turn inward and get introspective, and, more passive things like journaling, meditation, reflection, divination, dream work, right? Things like that. And I love that. In fact, I kind of extend that. I love that so much that I kind of do that from Samhain all the way to Imbolc. That's my jam. That is almost my favorite time of the Wheel of the Year, because there's something to be said for all the, the frenzy and the power and the energy and the height of, spring and gearing up and the summer and, that kind of like zenith of energy and power and solar goodness. But I also like the descent. I also, balance, baby. I also like that quiet time, kind of at the base of the Wheel of the Year, when, the earth is kind of sleeping, at least where I am in a temperate climate. I love the idea of rest and recovery and rejuvenation. And I think most of us do not take that time. We don't luxuriate in that time. We don't leverage that time. And we really should. Like I said, a lot of groups or individuals won't begin anything new or won't perform initiations during that year. I know some people don't even do magic during that time of year. I don't know that I can go that far. I'm a strong believer that need determines when magic is utilized, not season. And then I get a lot of shit for this, but sometimes I don't even pay attention to like day of the week or phase of the moon or planetary hour or whatever else. I think if you need to do magic, you do it. And, those kinds of things be damned. But getting off topic. Yeah, I just think that it's a really beautiful concept, that there is a time of the year set apart for sacred inactivity. We have a lot of problematic ideas about rest. I certainly do. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. But rest is beautiful. Like, we owe it to our bodies, our minds, our psyches, our souls, our physiologies. We owe ourselves rest. Rest is self-care, and that's sacred, but also it's time. This is time meant to be alone with our thoughts. And if you can't be alone with your thoughts, that is a problem. It's time to be alone with our gods. Like I said, it's time to do divination. It's time to receive messages. It's time to plan for the year ahead. It's time to dream, literally and metaphorically, right? It's time to sleep, and it's time to, get those REM cycles in and have dreams again if we've been too busy or haven't been getting good quality sleep and haven't been, having dreams. It's time to welcome those things back into our lives. It's time, so like I said, it's time to dream literally. Maybe you've always wanted to try, like, dream work or group dreaming or astral travel, this is the time to do it. Slow time, slow season, fallow time. Also, like dreaming, like I said, symbolically, right? This is time to go inside and really ruminate on who you are, what you want out of life. Put those things down on paper, journal about them, make action plans, dream big. Think about what your level 10 life looks like, or what your life plus 10% looks like, or whatever kind of, frou-frou TikTok trends or corporate lingo, whatever. But, what does the best version of you look like? What is the best version of your life or your spiritual life or, your life on all fronts, right? What does that look like? Jot it down, make a vision board. Holy shit, it's time for that, right? Kind of coincides with secular New Year where everyone's making their resolutions. Don't get me started on that. But really, like, I think there's something underpinning the idea of like, yeah, this is a time where we all feel compelled to kind of take a deep breath and reset. But how many of us actually give ourselves the space to do that? We should. We really should. And I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks who have said things like, I feel like such a slug. I haven't been doing anything since Christmas but sitting on my couch. I can't believe, like, as soon as the semester was over, I crashed. Or, I've just been laying around on my couch, binging Netflix, and I have been beating this horse, right? Like, this is a hill I will die on. I've been telling people, good, yes, that is exactly what you should be doing at this time of the year. That is literally what this time of year is built for. Again, if we look at that wheel of the year, that perpetual motion machine, this is that time in the cycle for that. And I have a hard time selling some people on that idea. But I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one who feels that way. In fact, I found a lot of, I have a massive camera roll full of like tweets and memes and GIF reactions. And I honestly believe that's like the sixth love language. But I love Twitter, and I'll probably, I don't know, never leave it, regardless of what a shit show it turns into, because it's so stupid, but I find a lot of wisdom there. And as usual, I have found a handful of people who have kind of put it more succinctly and better than I could. So I'm going to read those to you now. This one I've seen before. I think I saw it for the first time last year. It's a tweet from @EugeneLeeYang, and it says, "These 6 days between Christmas and New Year's is the only time of year you should strive to do absolutely fucking nothing. Make zero progress. Take all the time off. Go on vacation from your vacation. Be the least impressive version of yourself. Transform into a couch." And while that's funny, like, while that makes me crack up every year when I see it, there's a real element of truth to that, right? Especially for those of us who have been running around nonstop, preparing for the holidays, maybe preparing to host friends or family, running around shopping, cooking, cleaning, wrapping gifts, decorating, or traveling, driving, getting on planes. And once all of that hustle and bustle and hullabaloo from the holidays is over, you just kind of want to collapse from it for a few days. And, that week between Christmas and New Year's, that's liminal space, baby. Like, it is, the last precious few days of the old year. It's not yet that new, shiny, optimistic, ooh la la, it's a new year and we're going to do everything, differently and better. It's a great space to be in for this kind of rest that this video is talking about. This next tweet comes to us from @Keta_mean_. And although it's a little bit more serious, it still makes me chuckle. It amuses me in the same way, but it makes an excellent point.
And it says, practically every other mammal hides and sleeps through the winter, while man, in all their wisdom and pomposity, decided to uphold summer productivity standards. And now if I, the mammal that I am, fall short, it's deemed seasonal affective disorder. It's a great point, you know. If we look around, if we look to get our clues from nature, as we're supposed to do as witches and pagans, right? What are the animals doing right now? Bears are hibernating. The animals that are around us maybe are domesticated dogs or cats, or maybe, I'm in New York City, so what the hell wildlife do I have? I don't know, squirrels, raccoons, and possums. But they're all putting on weight. We're seeing them less frequently. They're not out running around. They've all gathered up their food stores, or they've put on weight, in preparation for the lean times of winter where food's not as plentiful. And they're hiding away, they're tucked away, they're not running around like they were in the summer and the fall preparing. Actually, I went to the doctor yesterday, and the nurse who was doing my intake, height, weight, and vital signs and whatnot, she was updating my information, and I was like, yeah, I put on a couple pounds since the last time I was here. She was like, whatever. That's what your body's actually hardwired to do at this time of the year. Everyone puts on a couple of pounds in the winter. And that's probably like one of the first times I've ever heard that acknowledged by a medical professional. And I wish more people knew that and understood that and accepted it. Similarly, this is another tweet kind of in the same vein, and it comes to us from @Julie_Vanderlee. And it says, if you, like me, are comforted to a small degree by evidence, there's a whole ton of it that points to how winter daylight hours absolutely make us lethargic, ineffective, and sad. Take it easy on yourself, pal. And that's really important for us to understand because, like the last tweet said, we are upholding ourselves to an unreasonable standard. We are acting like we should be able to accomplish the same number of things in the day at the same energy levels as we were doing all summer when we were working off of completely different circadian rhythms, right? And this is why, seasonal affective disorder is 100% a real thing, but it doesn't just affect us mentally and emotionally, it affects us physically, physiologically, all of it. This is why so many people go out and get those like daylight lamps or like vitamin D supplemental lamps, through the winter years, and why seasonal depression is such a plague. It's science, like I said, and like that tweet said, made a great point and said, hey, there's evidence for this. It is in peer-reviewed medical journals. You can check it out for yourself. This last one is just more of a meme. It's not a tweet necessarily, and I don't remember where I saw it for the first time. I wish I did, because I do like to give credit where credit is due and when I am able to do that, but I just found this in my camera roll. It had resonated with me at one point, and I saved it, and that's that. But it starts out with, in big letters at the top, it says hustle, and there's a line striking through the word hustle, and underneath that, it just says simply align. And the text below that reads, destroy the idea that you have to be constantly working or grinding in order to be successful. Embrace the concept that rest, recovery, and reflection are essential parts of the progress towards a successful and ultimately happy life. And I love that. And like I said, that resonated with me because I know that I have had problematic attitudes towards the concept of productivity in the past. And here's what I mean by that.
So, I am a born and bred, dyed-in-the-wool native New Yorker, and I am definitely poisoned by that kind of East Coast go, 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 gotta run all the time, gotta go fast, anything less than 110% output is sheer laziness, and I have a hard time turning off that voice in my head that's like, what are you doing? And I have a lot of guilt when I decide to sit around and do nothing or watch my favorite TV show or, take a nap or whatever. Because I bought that lie, right? Hook, line, and sinker. I bought that lie that in order to make it, you've got to be constantly grinding. Like that last meme I shared said, right? And so the first technique that I tried to use to convince myself that it was okay for me to rest was reminding myself that rest is also productive, right? Multiple studies have been done that prove that employees are more energized, more focused, more attentive after a vacation, right? That rest helps us continue to power the machine. So that in itself was problematic. Like eventually I was like, that's still kind of backing up the idea that my worth is only measured in accomplishment. And I had to actively work at discarding that. And instead of saying to myself, it's okay to rest because rest is productive in the end. I had to kind of replace that mantra, right? With, you don't have to be productive all the time. And it was hard to internalize. Again, like I said, that's just the culture that I come from. I mean, to an extent, it's the culture that we all come from because capitalism. It was hard. It was hard, but it is a lesson worth learning. You don't have to be productive all the time. I promise you. So I hope I made my point, and I will let you go and get back to the business of resting. But I just wanted to leave you with something I had written a few years ago. Yes, I'm actually going to use my own words this time instead of someone else's from Twitter, but here it is from one of my, It isn't until February Eve that I feel those first stirrings of energy from deep beneath the frozen earth anyhow. So I take the month of January off for my recuperation. And do you know what I do with all that glorious time? As little as possible. I luxuriate in it. I sleep in and drink hot cocoa by the absolute bucketful, and I practice reading tarot, and I fill dozens upon dozens of pages in my journal with my tiny slanting script. I curl up under a fleece blanket and I daydream about my goals and schemes and spend nights staring into candle flames, waiting for the mysteries of the universe to reveal themselves to me. And I take walks, weather permitting, and discover deep and startling truths about my innermost self. And that's what that time is meant for. That's what that time is designed to do. And boy, oh boy, is it hard sometimes. Sometimes that voice in the back of my head whispers to me how I could be cleaning out the attic with all this time, and I have to try and drown that voice out with the dialogue from my favorite movie and the whirring of my power recliner and the crunching of popcorn. And it is precisely that acceptance of that time of sacred inactivity that allows me to move headfirst into the new year. Because then I am rested and prepared and even excited to begin the cycle all over again, to once more jump back into the dance. By the time Imbolc rolls around, I rejoice in throwing open the windows and letting the cold air sweep through my rooms, and I mop the floors, and I muck out the attic and the crawl space with a fierce joy, and I return to my classroom with a bounce in my step instead of coming haltingly on dragging feet. And then I go on from there to kind of compare the time between Samhain and Imbolc with the months or the year where everything was kind of closed and we were forced to stay indoors and forced to spend time with ourselves during the pandemic. So the rest of that entry may not be quite so relevant, but yeah, I hope that strikes a chord with some of you, and I would love to hear about it in the comments. How are you utilizing this time? Are you getting any time off? Have you felt that same kind of sluggish desire of your body to just kind of, and what you're doing to renew and recharge? And, I want to hear about your personal practices if you want to leave a comment below. And that's it. I hope you're all getting some rest and recuperation, and I wish you good mental health. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.